All right, let's sell it. We're diving into one of the biggest debates in the entire tech world, the epic showdown between SQL and NoSQL databases.
I mean, have you ever really thought about it? All that stuff, your money, the things you buy, your latest vacation photos, it all has to live somewhere. How on earth does it get organized and pulled up in the blink of an eye?
Well, the answer boils down to two completely different philosophies for handling data. And trust me, this isn't just some boring technical detail. This is a clash of titans that literally shapes our entire digital world.
So let's get to it and meet our two main contenders. In one corner, you've got the long-reigning, structured champion, and in the other, the flexible, fast-moving, and disruptive challenger.
First up is SQL. The best way to think about SQL is to picture a super meticulous librarian. Every single book, every piece of information has a very specific spot on a very specific shelf. SQL databases, like the legendary Oracle, they store data in these highly structured tables. And that rigidity, that's its superpower. It's all governed by a principle called ACID, which basically guarantees that a transaction, like moving money, either completes perfectly or it doesn't happen at all. It's all about total, non-negotiable reliability. And then you have the challenger, NoSQL. Now, if SQL is that strict librarian, NoSQL is more like a flexible archivist with a gigantic, sprawling warehouse. It honestly doesn't care if you're throwing a photo, a complex social media map, or just a simple text note at it. Its whole philosophy is usually something called base, which puts being available and online above all else. The system just needs to stay up and running, even if it means some data might take a few seconds to be perfectly consistent everywhere. It's a trade-off, you see, for incredible speed and scale.
And that right there, that is the fundamental trade-off at the heart of this whole debate. It's this constant battle between rigid, predictable structure and ultimate go-with-the-flow flexibility.
So here's the difference in a nutshell. On one side, you have SQL's perfect spreadsheet. It's rigid, it's predictable, and every single piece of data knows exactly where it belongs. On the other side, you have NoSQL's digital filing cabinet. You can just toss anything in, a document, a user profile, a crazy complex social graph. The system adapts to your data, not the other way around.
Now, here's something you gotta understand. NoSQL isn't just one thing. Oh no. It's a whole family of different kinds of databases. You've got document databases like MongoDB, graph databases like Neo4j, key value stores like Redis. Each one is a specialized tool for a really specific job. That's a huge difference from SQL's one-size-fits-most approach with those relational tables.
So, let's get back to how they handle things. SQL's ACID is like that bank transfer. It has to be perfect. The money has to leave one account and show up in the other completely and totally, or the entire transaction just fails. There are no compromises. But NoSQL's base philosophy, that's way more like a social media update. You know, if you post a photo, it's totally okay if your friend in Tokyo sees it a couple of seconds before your friend in New York does. The main priority is just keeping the system available and fast, not instant, perfect consistency.
So what's the big payoff for all this flexibility? Speed, a lot of it. When you need to swallow massive amounts of data at a lightning-fast pace, NoSQL usually just pulls way ahead. SQL's strict rules, while fantastic for reliability, they create this overhead that can really act like a speed bump when things get really busy.
Okay, enough with the theory. Let's talk about where these two titans actually shine out there in the real world. When would you put your money on one over the other?
Imagine you're building an e-commerce website. Here, SQL is the undisputed champion, no question. Why? Because every single transaction has to be perfect. You absolutely need that ACID guarantee to make sure that when a customer clicks buy, their payment goes through and your inventory gets updated, all at once, flawlessly. SQL's strict rules prevent those nightmare scenarios, like selling the same sweater to two different people.
But now, let's totally flip the script. Let's talk about social media. Just try to picture the sheer tidal wave of data. Billions of posts, likes, videos, comments pouring in every single second. This is NoSQL's home turf. It's built from the ground up to scale out to an insane size and to handle all that messy, unstructured data with ease. And for mapping out those incredibly complex webs of who's friends with whom or who shared what, a graph database like Neo4j is, well, it's simply unbeatable at that.
So, after all of this, who wins the great database debate? Who gets to land the knockout punch?
The truth is, there is no knockout. The research on this is crystal clear. There is no single universal winner. The best choice depends completely, 100%, on the specific problem you are trying to solve.
So here's the real verdict. This isn't a competition. It's about choosing the right tool for the job. You know, a hammer is great, but not for putting in a screw. It's the same idea here. In fact, many of the biggest apps used every day actually use a hybrid approach. They'll have a rock-solid SQL database for their core financial stuff and a super scalable NoSQL database for handling all the massive amounts of user data, like activity feeds. They literally get the best of both worlds.
Which leaves us with one last question to chew on. As our world gets more complex, with AI and the Internet of Things generating data we can't even imagine yet, will one of these titans finally pull ahead? Or are we on the verge of a completely new way of thinking about data altogether? The debate, well, it's far from over.